A poor janitor whispered in a millionaire's ear just before he signed and lost everything. And his actions next took everyone by surprise. Please let us know in the comments section before we start. From where are you watching? Finally, remember to provide this article a score between 0 and 10. Have fun! The deal that would complete the largest business merger of David Miller's career was about to be signed. Sterling Corporation pledged to revolutionize his business. The stakes were billions. He was concentrated, only a few seconds away. From the moment the room door opened to sign the contract, she was accompanied by Anna, a member of the cleaning crew. Carton. Sorry, I'll just empty the trash real quick, she said politely and quietly. No one appeared to care. They were all too preoccupied with the celebration. Anna approached the garbage can beside David's chair. She stooped down while feigning to reposition the baggage. Then she brought her face close to his, leaning slightly to the side. That's when she uttered a scarcely heard whisper. Avoid signing. It's a trap. David froze. Only a few millimeters separated his hand from the page. The pen fell out of his, landed gently on the wooden table with fingertips. Stunned, he murmured, "What?" Anna rose slowly, gave him a serious glance, and then averted her gaze as though nothing had occurred. She took up the garbage can and began pushing her cart in the direction of the door as if everything were normal. However, David wasn't able to remove his gaze from her. David? Leandro, a friend and long-standing business associate, leaned in his direction with an odd grin. Javier inquired from across the room, "Everything all right, Mr. Miller?" Table. David gulped hard and asked, "Are you ready to sign?" The agreement was still there, unharmed. In front of everyone, the folder with the merger details was open. He examined Leandro's face, followed by Javier's. And lastly, at the door, where Anna was about to, he remarked, "I need 5 minutes. The world seems a little off balance. Leave." Abruptly, getting to his feet, Leandro tried to maintain his tone as he asked, "5 minutes?" Brightness. Yet he narrowed his eyes a little. David answered, "Is everything okay? I need to take care of something," as he moved in the direction of the door. "Everyone is present, Mr. Miller. Every term has been examined, and nothing remains to," Javier argued, sounding irritated. "Change." David reiterated, "5 minutes?" Firmly. He pulled the door shut behind him and left without listening for any more protests. Anna was... She was driving her cart a short distance down the corridor when she heard his rapid footsteps behind her and halted. "You!" David pointed at her forcefully. "With me now?" She paused, startled, but nodding. They silently made their way to a tiny break room. Entered first, followed by her. He closed the door firmly behind them and gave her a composed gaze. Intensity. With his arms folded, and his gaze fixed on hers, he urged, "Explain now." Anna stood there with a garbage bag in one hand and said, "Convince me. You're not completely insane for interrupting me like that. Hand. They are setting you up. I get how that sounds, but I heard discussions that no one else did." "Up. Who are they?" "Leandro, your partner, and Sterling." Her voice trembled, significantly, but then steadied. "They are utilizing the contract to stabilize your business and transfer concealed debts. You'll be giving everything away if you sign it." David looked at her for a long time, and he felt like laughing. The chill that went down his spine was too much for the other part to ignore. "What's your name, Anna? How long have you been employed?" "Here?" "8 months working nights." "Okay, Anna." He took a step forward, his eyes firm. "To be clear, you're immediately dismissed if this is a falsehood, a conspiracy idea, or an attempt to gain attention." Anna chewed her lip without turning away. "I get it, but if I say nothing and you lose everything, I'd never forgive me." Chicago continued to whirl below as David turned to face his reflection in the glass wall. But this woman stood there, with nothing to gain and everything to lose. And his world had just fallen apart. Anyway, without glancing at her, he asked, "Do you have proof?" "I do." "Pictures? I can show you the records and images tonight at 7 o'clock. In this room, bring everything. If you don't persuade me, this will be your final day here," he added, indicating toward the room. Anna simply... David nodded, then pressed his forehead against the chilly wall, waiting for her to go. Outside, the contract remained awaiting his signature, but he was suddenly hesitating for the first time in his career. David walked, Leandro pulled the door open and walked back into the meeting room, his heart racing. Everyone's eyes were on him, chatting softly to Javier while bending over the table, but he instantly stood up when he noticed him. "Did you take care of what did you require?" Leandro asked, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Yes." David approached the table without taking a seat, first glancing at the contract, then at the faces surrounding him. Javier scowled. "Actually, I think I need to review a few clauses again. We went over every element of this document for weeks, Mr. Miller. And that's precisely why I want..." David took the folder and firmly closed it, saying, "Let's reschedule for tomorrow." The quiet in, "This doesn't make sense," David said, as Leandro slowly rose to his feet, his hands clenched against the table in the tense room. "You're aware that Sterling has other interested parties, so let them be. We're squandering time." David gazed icily at his boyhood pal. "It will. One night won't change anything. It's now or never. The stock is up. The market is erratic." Javier slammed his hand on the table. David observed the man's angry response. This pressure wasn't usual. "I made the decision." Anna had been correct about something. put the contract in his briefcase, and said, "I'll see you tomorrow." Before they could object, David exited the room, leaving behind a group of men who were clearly upset. At precisely when David entered the break room at 7 o'clock, Anna was already seated in a chair and wearing a tiny rucksack. Her lap. Seeing him, she got up and said, "Thank you for coming," in a more steady voice than she had in the morning. David sat opposite her at the tiny table and said, "Show me what you've got." Round table. Anna pulled her phone out of her backpack, her hands shaking a little as she browsed the pictures. It all began 3 weeks ago when I heard voices in the adjacent room while I was tidying Leandro's office. I stopped and inhaled deeply, recognizing both his and a woman's voices as they discussed, "You, David." Leaned forward. Continue. Sophia is a tall, blonde woman who is constantly wearing. Anna showed him a fuzzy picture shot through a gap in the door by sliding her finger across the screen while wearing pricey clothing. A shiver went down David's spine. This is Sofia Delgado, his... How was the ex-girlfriend involved in this? She stopped their relationship 2 years ago, claiming they were too different. Now that she and Leandro were together, they were plotting against you. Anna swiped to the next picture. Listen to this. She turned on a recording, and although the audio quality wasn't the best, the voices were audible. After he signs, we'll be in complete control of the assets. Are you certain? David thinks nothing. It was true with me, and it will be true with David, who has always been too innocent to recognize when he is being deceived. Now what if he finds out? He won't. I assure you, Sophia, will own in 48 hours. His company. David rubbed a palm over his forehead, the world whirling around him. Leandro's voice was unmistakable, and the laugh that had made him fall in love, Sophia's laugh, now sounded like poison. "Is there more?" he inquired, his voice rough. Anna nodded and looked at additional pictures. Hurriedly taken documents, clause-filled contracts. They altered the original bank transfers to accounts he didn't know, which were different from the ones David had seen. Contract. Anna gestured to one of the pictures and said, "See this section? It says you'll keep 60% in the version you have. Control, but in the actual one that will be used when you sign, all that's left is 20%. David picked up the phone and moved it closer to the document. Scam. It's illegal. And that's not all. Anna went on to the following picture. This $15 last week, $1 million was transferred from Sterling's account to Leandro's personal one. Account. Chicago glistened in the darkness below as David got up and moved to the window. But to him, everything felt dull. Why? "Leandro has been my best friend for 15 years, he muttered to himself. Years. We constructed everything from scratch when we went to college together. People sometimes alter when putting the phone away," Anna remarked. "There's a lot of money involved." Or maybe they were always like that and you just... David spun around, still trying to take it all in. Why are you telling me this? I didn't want to see it. Anna hesitated because it's the right thing to do. You might lose your job. I can't just be silent and let someone be deceived in such a way. David examined her, sensing that there was more to it. But Anna was obviously not prepared to express it. These fragments of Anna placed her phone aside and said, I understand why you don't trust me. How can I be sure they're real? They've previously prepared every step, so you will lose everything if you sign tomorrow. A part of David fervently wished he didn't believe it, and he remained mute for a while. Leandra was like a brother, but the evidence... Finally, he replied, I need more proof. I must be absolutely... David looked directly at her and replied, Yeah, I can get more, but it'll be risky. Then be careful. Truth. If Leandro is truly betraying me... He was unable to complete the statement. Anna firmly answered, Well, find out the truth. David stayed after Anna left. Alone in the room, gazing out the window, he was beginning to question Leandro for the first time in their 15 years of friendship. And he was beginning to doubt himself. David showed up early for work the following morning, thought about the proof Anna had showed him all night long, and the pictures of the fake paperwork wouldn't go away. David needed further explanations, and neither would Leandro's voice on that damning tape. He requested to view Ana Santos's file at Human Resources. Martha, the HR staff member, the cleaning lady's file, she said, adjusting her glasses, seeming surprised. David lied and said, Just a standard check. Did something happen? I need to confirm a few facts. David opened the little folder Martha brought him, and his eyes grew when he viewed the resume that was attached. Ana Santos, 28, has a degree in Northwestern University's Business Administration program with a focus on corporate finance. Prior business consulting expertise at McKinsey Company. McKinsey? David said in shock. David swiftly closed the folder and said, Pardon me. Martha leaned over to see what he was reading. It's nothing, thank you. Returned it. His thoughts were racing as he left HR. Anna had been employed at McKinsey. 1. How did someone with that resume wind up as a janitor at one of the world's most prestigious consulting firms? David searched the hallways for Anna after lunch and discovered her cleaning the windows in one of the buildings on the 12th floor. Smaller conference rooms. I need to talk to you, Anna, he added, coming over to her. Startled to see him, she turned around. Did something happen? Did you learn more about Leandro? Well, I discovered David crossed his arms and said, I have a question for you. Northwestern University, corporate finance, McKinsey & Company. Anna's face became white as she dropped the cleaning cloth and inhaled deeply. You looked into my file. Why didn't you tell me who you really are? Anna asked. Because it doesn't matter, she answered coldly. looking around to make sure they were alone before responding. I'm just the Latina housekeeper, regardless of how many degrees I have or where I used to work. That's impressive, Mackenzie. How did you get here? Anna interrupted him. To be honest, I worked at Mackenzie for 2 years, and I was really good at it. However, when it came time for David listened intently, seeing the anguish in her eyes. Promotions, there was always a reason why I didn't move up. Except they first claimed that I required more experience, and then they argued that my communication style was not in line with the culture of the organization. I was too capable for my role, but I didn't look the part, Anna said, with a laugh devoid of humor. Leadership position. You could have sued. How much money? That's discrimination. Anna picked up the water. David said nothing, attempting to explain why a Latina would choose a company like Mackenzie. And your family? You mentioned a sister. Maria is 22 years old. Anna, please comprehend the unfairness. We need 200,000 for surgery because she was born with a congenital heart defect. I stated quietly after I was fired. From Mackenzie, she hesitated. In fact, I had to quit when they asked me to. That's why I'm here, and that's why you're here, so take any job I can find. Anna nodded. Although the salary is poor, it helps with Maria's treatment because the health plan covers a portion of it. Medication. I can't afford to remain unemployed. David's chest constricted. This woman was intelligent, schooled at one of the top universities in the nation, and gained experience as a janitor at a prestigious company due to, I didn't know about, discrimination and family needs. But now you do, Anna. She returned. I spent years examining corporate records, which is why I immediately identified the fake paperwork. Contracts. I noticed the differences right away, which is why you issued the warning. Anna stopped cleaning and gave him a direct look, partly because of the treachery, but also because I've been observing you for months, and I hesitated because you're not like the other executives here. I saw that they intended to destroy you in the same manner that they destroyed everyone else, regardless of their position. My profession? You couldn't remain silent. David observed her for a number of lengthy seconds. Ana Santos wasn't merely a housekeeper who happened to overhear anything. She was a highly competent expert who chose to take action after spotting corporate malfeasance, even if it meant jeopardizing the little she had. David. Leandro's voice spoke to Anna once everything was finished, rang down the corridor, and they both turned to see Leandro walking toward them with an inquisitive expression. What are you doing here? David said, just checking on how the cleaning is going, as Leandro glanced from David to Anna. Leandro glanced at Anna, who had left, and said, You know how particular I am, returning to cleaning the windows while seeming not to hear what they were saying. Since when do you personally care about the cleaning crew? Leandro's tone made it obvious that he was suspicious. Since I choose to David forced a smile, saying, "Pay more attention to details." Speaking of which, did Leandro continue to watch Anna? So I hope you'll move the appointment with Sterling to this afternoon at 3 o'clock. Be any more hesitancy? Naturally not. David started, Leandro followed him as he walked toward the elevator. Let's grab lunch. I need to go over a few contract adjustments with you. Him, but not before giving Anna one final suspicious glance. Leandro pressed the button at the elevator and turned to David, who replied, "You've been acting strange since yesterday." Voice questioning. "Is there anything I should know about?" David carefully considered what to say. "Just pre-negotiation nerves. David and I have been friends for 15 years. You know how I feel before making important decisions." Leandro put a hand on his shoulder and said, "If something's bothering you, you can tell. We built this company together." David searched his best friend's eyes for any hint of dishonesty. But Leandro appeared sincere, worried. "I'm okay, Carlos. I just want to confirm that we're acting appropriately." "Of course we are," Leandro grinned. "I promise that this combination will establish us as the market leaders." They entered the elevator as the doors opened. But as they dropped, for the first time in 15 years, David was unable to stop thinking about what Anna had said. Sometimes money transforms people. He was starting to question whether he truly knew Leandro after all these years. That afternoon, as Anna was wrapping up her cleaning of the 15th floor executive restroom, she heard footsteps coming down the hallway. The majority of executives had already left for their homes, and it was almost 5 o'clock. Scowled, wondering whether anyone was still there, and heard Leandro's rich voice through the slightly open door, talking to a woman. When she answered, Anna felt cold. It was Safia. "Are you certain it's her?" Safia inquired, her tone piercing with annoyance. "Of course." I investigated after Leandro responded, drawing nearer, after noticing David speaking to her yesterday. Ana Santos, 28, former Mackenzie, too intelligent for her own good. Anna pressed herself against the bathroom wall and held her breath. "Do you believe she heard our conversation last week?" Her heart raised as she realized they were discussing her. I could tell Sophia was worried because I looked at the security cameras. As we were settling the specifics, Leandro was cleaning my office. Hesitated. David was acting quite differently today. He had withdrawn his signing yesterday and asked a lot of questions concerning the terms we had already gone over. Damn. Safia's voice grew frantic. "If David learns about us," Leandro interrupted her, saying, "I need to get rid of the money we transferred. If we act quickly, he won't." Anna tried to manage the cleaning lady by covering her mouth with both hands before she caused further issues. Breathing. They were aware that she had figured out their scheme. How? "Sophia, I'll accuse her of stealing right in front of everyone." The most degrading question imaginable. No one would believe a fired janitor over me, Leandro said icily. And if David attempts to defend her, for 15 years, David has been my closest buddy. He won't publicly challenge me about a cleaning, even if he has reservations. Leandro chuckled softly. Lady, he's too predictable. Anna shut her. She had risked everything to alert David to the deception, and now she was feeling tears welling up in her eyes. When will it be destroyed? Safia inquired. I'll summon her to the announce an urgent safety meeting for all staff members in the main auditorium. The sound of footfalls subsided, and Anna spent a few more minutes in the bathroom, attempting to gather herself. Her hands were... She shuddered when she considered Maria, her ailing sister, who was dependent on this job's health coverage. If she was, she would lose both her pay and health insurance. If she was fired for cause. The building's intercom. Hello. There is an urgent safety meeting that requires all employees to go to the main auditorium right away. After taking a long breath, Anna straightened her shoulders and said, all employees to the main auditorium, before leaving the restroom. She would never give Leandro the joy of witnessing her break, no matter what happened. The auditorium was crowded with workers in every department, whispering to each other about the unexpected gathering. Anna came in from David, sat in the first row with other people, while she stood close to the back wall, keeping her head high. Executives. He scanned the auditorium, and for a split second, their gazes locked. Anna noticed a look of perplexity on his face. Leandro entered the stage with a manila folder, his expression as though he was also unaware of the purpose of the gathering. His voice reverberated through the microphone. Thank you all for coming on such short notice. His tone was solemn, almost deadly. Regretfully, I must deal with a grave concern regarding the safety of our firm. An anxious mutter echoed across the room. We learned yesterday that private documents had been photographed. Leandro waited for effect and was taken out of the executive offices. This is not an instance of business espionage, in addition to a violation of contract. Anna felt she knew precisely where this was leading. And once our security team conducted a thorough investigation, a shiver went through her. We found the culprit. Leandra turned to face Ana Santos from the cleaning. Personnel. Would you kindly step forward? Everyone's eyes were on Anna, and she sensed hundreds of stares following her, some inquisitive. Her legs were trembling, but she stepped to the front of the room, maintaining her dignity in the face of those who were already passing judgment. The embarrassment she anticipated. Miss Santos, Leandro added, adopting a stern, commanding tone. Tone? How can you explain the discovery of pictures of private corporate information on your phone? Anna glanced at David, seated in the first row, was startled and torn between astonishment and perplexity. Struggle in his eyes. Anna started, but Leandro interrupted her. Moreover, he claimed that when you access executive offices outside of your designated cleaning hours, Security cameras record it. He opened the folder and took out printed pictures that were taken the previous week. As the front row was passed pictures, Anna noticed David grab one, his face contorted into what appeared to be dismay. Miss Santos, theft of intellectual property is a federal crime, Leandro remarked as he approached her on the platform. But considering your prior spotless record, we're offering termination for cause rather than, this isn't fair, Anna said at last, involving law enforcement, which was attempting to defend. What are you protecting? Leandro cut in sharply. Your own hobbies. Did you intend to sell our rivals this information? No, I was enough shielding Mr. Miller. Leandro struck the podium with his fist. I will not permit a dishonest employee to disparage this business or its management. Anna turned to David in despair and begged him to speak out for her in silence. However, David kept quiet, his expression a mask of inner turmoil. Security, kindly accompany Miss Santos, left the structure. Leandro gestured to 2 guards in uniform. We no longer allow her on our property. As the guards got closer, David and Anna let out a cry. I was trying to help, you know. You witnessed the proof. David got up, slowly, giving Anna the impression that he would finally say anything, that he would confront the injustice taking place in front of him. Then he averted his gaze, his jaw clenched. I'm sorry it's come to this, Anna, he responded. No more than a whisper, Anna's heart says. But the evidence is very clear. Broken. The man she had put everything on the line for, the one she attempted to protect from heartbreaking treachery, was choose to trust his traitor. Please, David. Her voice cracked. You are aware of who I truly am. I would never, as you are aware. Miss Santos, that's enough. Leandro left the stage and approached her while grinning cruelly. The performance is finished. The safety Anna resisted the guards' attempts to take her by the arms with dignity. I am able to walk by myself. Once more, her voice was steady, even though she was crying uncontrollably. Anna paused and turned as she was being led out of the theater. To David, one final time. She yelled loud enough for everyone to hear. When you find out the truth, for everyone to hear. David closed his eyes and said, remember, you had the chance to do the right thing today, and you chose not to. As though her words were blows to the body, hundreds of people watched as Anna was led out of the building. Colleagues. Some people felt sorry for her. Others appeared to be relieved that the issue had been handled. One of the guards gave her a box containing her few personal items on the pavement. I apologize, the older guard, obviously embarrassed, said, Miss Santos. Anna nodded, accepted the box, and said, orders are orders. Began to move in the direction of the subway station. She felt the weight of betrayal and humiliation with every stride. However, more than that, she was burdened by the knowledge that David was going directly into a trap. now that she had no way to alert him. David stayed sitting in the theater, despite all the other staff members had departed. Leandro came over and placed a hand on his shoulder. He said, "I know this is hard, David." She seemed like a good employee, with a phony sense of pity. However, David glanced at his companion, looking for any indication of dishonesty. "Sometimes people let us down." However, Leandro seemed truly worried. "The evidence was very clear," David said, mainly to himself. "Yes, it was," Leandro concurred. "But now we can concentrate on what really counts: the merger with Sterling. Our business is going to grow into an empire." David nodded slowly. "We can't let disloyal employees ruin our dream." However, a tiny but tenacious part of him couldn't forget the sincere despair in Anna's voice when she yelled his name. Leandro said, "Should we move the signing to tomorrow morning?" "First of all, no more delays." "Yes," David said, getting to his feet while still attempting to take it all in. "First thing," he said, walking out of the... David couldn't get rid of the sense that he had just committed the greatest error of his life in the auditorium. And Ana Santos was walking the streets of Chicago somewhere with a broken heart and a box of possessions, unwavering in his resolve to save the guy who had failed to save her. David had a terrible time sleeping. Evening. He couldn't shake the picture of Anna being led out of the building. Her voice's desperation, the how he had remained mute while she yelled his name, pleading with him to defend her. At 3 a.m, he provided up, attempting to sleep. After hurriedly getting dressed, he drove to the office. The structure was deserted, but for the darkness. The hallways are patrolled by guards. David entered the executive elevator using his access card. Considering Leandro's, the claims were illogical, Anna had demonstrated a thorough understanding of business contracts and had identified inconsistencies. Things would only be apparent to someone with financial expertise. What makes a woman with that level of experience attempt to sell trade secrets? And if she was complicit in a betrayal, why would she risk everything to alert him to it? Business espionage? After arriving at his office, David switched on his computer. He made the decision to do his own research. He began by going over the merger documents with Sterling Company. He opened all of the spreadsheets, documents, and attachments. Agreement. At first glance, everything appeared to be regular, but Anna had brought up secret stipulations. David knew whether they were real. They would be difficult to locate. He discovered the first anomaly 3 hours later. On page 47 of the main contract, there David had never seen a reference to Addendum C before. The document states that this amendment contained technical details and asset distribution following the transaction. However, when he searched the digital folder for Addendum C, it wasn't present. David was intrigued and went to the company's main server. He applied his CEO login information to view the most secure files. At last, in a password-protected area he had never seen. He had previously discovered what he was seeking. Addendum C. Distribution of assets following merger. David accessed the document and felt a chill go through his body. According to the contract, 80% of Miller Technologies' assets would be acquired by move to Sterling International Holdings, a subsidiary. David was unfamiliar with this business. He continued to reading and discovered that Sterling International Holdings had just 2 primary locations and was registered in the Cayman Islands. Leandro Vega and Sofia Delgado, shareholders. This isn't possible, David whispered. To be sure, read the document 3 more times. However, it was all contained in technical legal jargon and small print that the idea was harsh as well as brilliant. David believed he would retain most of the company's authority when he signed the deal, whereas, in reality, he would be giving nearly everything to a front firm that his best friend and his former girlfriend. After printing the document, David continued his investigation. With his CEO credentials, he gained access to the business's financial documents. His darkest worries were validated by what he discovered. Over the past 2 months, a total of $23 in merger preparation transfers had been made. Million. Although Sterling Corporation accounts were purportedly the recipients of the funds, David sensed something odd. The account numbers given in the initial contract were different. Making use of his corporate banking mechanism, David followed the money's true path. 23 million had been moved to El Vega, Leandro Vega's personal account. 15 years, David muttered, of friendship, feeling as though he had been struck in the stomach. However, there was more. He had never been copied on any of the emails that David discovered between Leandro and Sterling executives. The messages showed that the merger was actually a covert hostile takeover. There was no such thing as Sterling Corporation. Busy business. It was merely a front for the fraud that Sofia and Leandro had orchestrated. Leandro stated in an email 3 weeks ago, "David is utterly naive." 15. He was oblivious to the prospect of betrayal due to years of friendship, and by the time he understands what transpired, Will already has complete authority over the assets and be abroad. Sophia was correct. Indeed he is. Foreseeable. David had to put down his book. He was holding the mouse with trembling hands. The man who had been his closest friend served as his wedding best man, wept with him as his mother died, and stood by him as they created the business with the intention of totally destroying him. He continued his research and discovered many more of the strategy. Leandro would declare an emergency after David signed the contract, restructuring and making up financial problems. David would have to resign as CEO in order to benefit the business. And Leandro would assume complete command. After that, Sterling International would receive all of the actual assets. Holdings, therefore David's only assets are debts and legal obligations. The strategy worked so beautifully. Noted that David experienced a perverted feeling of respect in addition to repulsion. For months, perhaps even years, Leandro had been organizing each and every aspect. David also discovered that the company's security system had captured phone conversations, among them between Leandro and Sofia 2 weeks ago. David, are you certain Leandro won't suspect anything? Sofia, Leandro, I spent 2 years dating him. I'm aware of each one of his flaws. David constantly has too much faith in others. It is both his greatest asset and his worst weakness. What if he learns prior to the signing? He won't. We have the falsified documents, though. If he does, we can say that he was attempting to use my word against his in order to conduct fraud. You despise him. That much? It's ambition, not hatred. Although David was a decent lover, he was always constrained, too tiny for my aspirations. I can have all I've ever desired with you. David put the recording on hold, feeling ill. 2 years prior, Sophia had broken up with him, claiming that their goals in life were different. In all honesty, she had simply been searching for someone who was more ambitious and eager to transgress boundaries. 6 o'clock in the morning, David had gathered enough proof to imprison Sophia and Leandro. However, he also came to an unpleasant realization. He had abandoned her when she most needed him, despite Santos's best efforts to save him. He recalled what she had said that day. Earlier, when you learn the truth, keep in mind that you had the opportunity to act morally today, but you decided not to. She was correct. Absolutely correct. David now needed to figure out how to fix He had made a tremendous error. He had to make sure Leandro and Sophia didn't know the truth first, though. The scheduled time for the signing meeting was 9:00 a.m., only 3 hours away. David replicated the files from 3 separate accounts onto a flash stick and sent them to himself via email. He wiped his browser after that, history, and end the computer's operation. His phone rang as he was leaving the workplace. Leandro was the one. With a fake concern in his voice, Leandro replied, "David, I'm delighted you picked up. I couldn't sleep after what occurred with the cleaning lady yesterday. I know it upset you." "I'm fine," David said, attempting to maintain his composure. Calm voice. "You were right, but it was difficult. The proof was unambiguous." David heard the relief in Leandro's voice as he said, "I'm happy you understand. Are you prepared for today's meeting? The big moment has finally arrived. Naturally, 9:00, correct? David, I want you to know that our relationship will always be the most important thing to me, regardless of how things work out professionally." Feeling the pain of that disingenuous statement, he closed his eyes and said, "To me too, Leandro." When he hung up, David understood exactly what he had to do to put things right for the courageous woman, not only to rescue his business, who had put everything on the line to alert him to the betrayal. Ana Santos had attempted to save him. Now it was his time. He had to locate her before he could help her. And after degrading her in public, David was unsure if she would be open to talking to him again after seeing everyone the day before. Gazing out the window of his... As the sun rose over Chicago, David Miller readied himself for the most crucial battle of his life. Life. A struggle for his own soul as much as his company. Because he had learned a harsh lesson. Those who have the courage to tell us the truth are sometimes the most significant individuals in our life. We don't want to hear the truth. And Ana Santos had done just that. Now it was time to show his own bravery in remembrance of her. David called off the meeting with Sterling. Leandro was incensed, but David didn't care because he had more pressing matters to attend to. The company claimed a family emergency. Things to do. David located Anna's address, Pro 7, using HR information. In the Pilsen neighborhood on Chicago's South Side, Lincoln Street, apartment 2B was one of the city's poorest neighborhoods, primarily Latino, where a large number of immigrant families struggled to make ends meet through low-wage jobs. David had never been to Pilsen before, for a life, and he was struck by how different it was as he drove through the small streets. From the world he was familiar with, rusted fire escapes on old brick buildings, little children playing on crumbling sidewalks, stores with signs in Spanish. It was a far cry from the glossy financial area towers. He stopped his BMW in front of a 3-story structure that was obviously seen better days. Some windows had cracks hidden with paint, and the paint was flaking. David went up the rickety stairs to the second level and paused before the tape. Door 2B, and inhaled deeply before knocking. Footsteps shuffled closer and the door cracked open. David glimpsed a portion of Anna's face through the slit, her eyes bulging as if she had been weeping through the night. "What are you after?" she asked, her voice cold as ice. "Anna, I need to speak with you. I learned the truth about Sophia and Leandro." "Oh, you just learned?" Anna laughed bitterly. "How handy! After you made me look bad in front of 200 people. Just allow me to explain, please." "Nothing needs to be explained." Anna began to shut the door, but David touched it. "You were right about everything, Anna. I located the bank, the contract, and the proof." Anna hesitated, but did not open the door any farther. "And what do you want?" "Transfers, the shell business, everything." "I have nothing left to gain or lose because you have already fired me and damaged my reputation. What am I to do with that now?" Anna groaned as a feeble voice came from inside the apartment. "You do. I can clear your name. I can, Anna." "Who is it?" "It's my sister," she said, peering at David through the breach. "She is ill." "Please," David responded, "give me 5 minutes. I simply wished to offer a sincere apology. Anna remained silent for a while, obviously conflicted, and at last she took off the necklace and opened the door to a modestly sized apartment that was immaculately clean and well organized, with antique furniture, but well maintained. Anna and a younger woman were seen grinning in brighter moments in family photos displayed on the wall. Maria Anna called, "We have a visitor." A young woman, around 22, entered the room, and it was obvious that she was Anna's sister. She had the same brown eyes, same delicate features, but she appeared terribly sickly, with pale skin and a sluggish gait, as though each step took effort. "Hi," Maria answered, smiling slightly. "You must be Anna's supervisor, David." His chest constricted. Anna had lost her job, but she hadn't yet informed her sister. Anna clarified with her former supervisor. In a hurry, David said, "This is my sister, Maria. This is David Miller." Maria held out a weak hand, and David shook it lightly. Maria added, "Anna talks a lot about you. You're more human than other bosses." Gazed at Anna, who averted her gaze in obvious embarrassment. "Maria, would you mind going?" The doctor remarked, "You need to save your strength." "All right," Anna said. "Go back to your room and rest." Went slowly in the direction of the hallway, then halted. "Mr. Miller, it was good to meet you. Kindly look after my sister. She is the most courageous person I have ever met." David turned to Anna when Maria had left the room. "Why didn't you inform me of the seriousness? What is her condition?" "She required surgery, as I mentioned." Anna took a seat on the shabby couch. I felt there was no need to elaborate. "What sort of surgery?" Anna paused before responding. "A heart valve replacement. Maria had a birth defect. Her valve at the moment is failing." Her voice cracked in the absence of the surgery. "According to doctors, she may have 6 months." It seemed as if someone had hit David. Anna had been handling everything by herself while working as a janitor to Feto. He had fired her just when she needed it most, and she had to keep her sister's health insurance. "What is the cost of the surgery?" $200K. Anna dabbed at her eyes. 60% was covered by the company's health plan. I was putting in extra effort on the weekends and saving for the remainder. "I can pay, Anna." "No." She suddenly got to his feet. "I don't need your sympathy or your generosity." "It's not sympathy. It's accountability." David got up as well. "Yesterday, I made a horrible error. I was unjust to you. You failed to treat unfairly to me." There was pain in Anna's voice. "I was betrayed by you. You were aware of who—" "Yes, I was. Even though you knew I was attempting to assist you, you remained silent." "I was perplexed when Leandro humiliated me. Divided between a janitor and your best friend." Anna interrupted him. "And your best friend was your choice." Even being aware that he, David, annoyed, raked his hands through his hair while he was lying. "You're correct. absolutely correct. I was self-centered and cowardly. But now that I know the truth, I want to change things. Correct. David, certain things are unavoidable. Anna approached the window, observing the street outside. I lost my reputation, my career, and, above all, Maria's health. Coverage. All because I made an effort to act morally. Please let me assist you. Why? Anna looked up at him. Because you're feeling bad in order to calm your conscience, since you're the most courageous person I've ever encountered. David was even taken aback by the sincerity with which he spoke. You put everything at danger to prevent me from being betrayed. And I left you when you most needed me. Anna looked at him for a long time. In 2 weeks, Maria will require surgery. I'll be responsible for the cost if I don't have insurance. I'm short on cash. I'll make the payment today. And nothing in exchange. David gave a headshake. Of course, nothing. The least I can do is this. Anna laughed without humor. Leave my life and my house at the very least. I no longer have faith in you, David. You had the opportunity to reveal your true self, and you did. Go, Anna. She went to the door and pulled it open. I need to find a new work, and Maria needs to rest. David paused at the door. It's not over yet. I will reveal Leandro and Sophia. I will clear your name. Anna, do as you please, stated without meeting his gaze. Do it without me, though. With a heavy heart, David left the flat as he heard the lock turn and the door close behind him as he descended the stairs. David was sitting outside in his BMW. Examined the small building where Maria and Anna were fighting for their lives. He had discovered Leandro's treachery, but had lost something far more precious. The confidence of the sole individual who had attempted to save him. He now needed to locate how to regain that trust, since he was beginning to understand that Ana Santos was not just the secret to revealing the betrayal. She was starting to take precedence over everyone else in his life. For the next 3 days, David was unable to contemplating Maria and Anna. He had put off the merger with Sterling Corporation indefinitely, stating the more legal reviews are required. Although Leandra was growing increasingly agitated and demanding, David was able to purchase time. He secretly searched for ways to assist the Santos sisters in the interim so Anna wouldn't know. He was unable to simply display up with a check at their door. Anna had made it plain that she would not take his direct assistance. Early on Wednesday morning, David thought of something. Maria was receiving treatment at Northwestern Memorial Hospital when he contacted, and he was able to talk to the cardiologist handling the case. Dr. Rodriguez. I'm David Miller, Dr. Rodriguez. I would like to talk about the case of Maria Santos. I apologize, sir, but I am unable to share patient information with unapproved parties. I fully comprehend. David was careful with his word choice. I'm not requesting medical information. I would like to contribute anonymously to help pay for her surgery. On the other end, there was a pause. A gift made anonymously? That's right. 200K. I want the family to think it was provided by a social assistance or medical scholarship. Something that wouldn't be suspicious. That's quite kind, Mr. Miller. Could I ask? How do you relate to the patient? I owe the Santos family a lot, let's just say that. David hesitated. Is it? Is it feasible to set this up without disclosing my identity? Indeed, we have a program for anonymous donors in situations like this. If the money is available, I can set up the procedure for next week. They'll be. I'll send the funds. Today. Everything changed when Anna received a phone call on Thursday afternoon. Miss Santos. The tone of Dr. Rodriguez's voice was upbeat. I have fantastic news regarding Maria. Anna's heart began to rush. Is she all right? Although she is steady, this is something different. A federal medical assistance program for serious heart conditions has been approved for us. The procedure for Roria will be completely covered. Anna nearly let go of the phone. By what do you mean? We never submitted an application for any program. Hospitals occasionally submit applications for qualified patients automatically. What counts is that we can set the procedure for Tuesday of next week. Anna was crying with relief when she hung up. She sprinted over to Maria's. Her sister was sleeping in the room. Maria. Anna gave her a gentle shake. We succeeded. The entire cost of the surgery will be covered. Still feeling sleepy from the medicine, Maria opened her eyes slowly. What are you cruel? A government initiative. Everything is paid for by them. Anna gave her a hug. Take care, sister. Maria? You will be all right. You'll be all right. David discovered the gift was successful. Upon receiving a call from Dr. Sath Rodriguez confirming the scheduled surgery, he experienced a sort of contentment he hadn't experienced in years. The satisfaction of doing something genuinely helpful without anticipating anything in return. Come back. Regaining Anna's trust was still an issue, though. Additionally, for that, he required an alternative plan. This past Friday evening, David was strolling across. When he got an idea, he went to Millennium Park. Anna had stated that she had additional occupations to save money on the weekends. Perhaps even after losing her, she continued to do that. Employment with Miller Technologies. David searched for her all Saturday. He went to offices, restaurants, and cafes that employed cleaning workers over the weekend. He eventually located her about 5 o'clock in the afternoon. Anna was doing window washing of a modest North Michigan Avenue accounting firm. She had her hair tied back and was dressed simply. A ponytail. David was inspired by the gentle dignity with which she held herself, even when performing manual labor. He held out till she was done and left the building across the street. He cautiously approached Anna. She pivoted, startled, and obviously irritated. Do you now follow me? No. Yes, but not your way of thinking. David stammered as he spoke. I was informed that Maria's surgery had been authorized by a government initiative. Anna gave him a suspicious glance. What does that mean? I am pleased for you, genuinely joyful. Thank you. She began to move in the direction of the metro station. David followed her. Can I speak with you, Anna? Only 5 minutes. Regarding what? About how terrible I feel, about what transpired, about how everything you said was true, regarding how I wish to, this time, put things right. Anna paused and gave him a look. I know you're feeling bad, David, but like I don't need your sympathy, as I have stated. It's not sympathy. David inhaled deeply. It's respect, admiration, and something I'm still figuring it out. Anna scowled. Something more? You caused me to reevaluate everything I believe to be true about who I am. David moved a bit nearer, about bravery, about loyalty, about acting morally, even in the face of difficulty. Please let me continue, David. He said, you put everything on the line to protect me from treachery, and when at time I failed, when it was my chance to defend you, but I learned a valuable lesson about who I am and who I want to become. Anna stared at him for a long time, without saying anything. And who would you like to be? Someone deserving of bravery? The chilly Chicago wind blew as you demonstrated someone who doesn't allow fear or blind allegiance to stop them from doing what's right. Between them, and Anna tightened her coat around her. It's cold outside, she remarked, looking about. There's a coffee shop on the corner where we can have a conversation. The little cafe was almost empty, with 2 people sitting at a table by the window. Between them, steaming mugs of hot chocolate. So, Anna asked, using a tiny spoon to mix her drink, what did you find? David took a folder out of his rucksack and placed it on the table. Everything about Leandro and Sophia? Whole scheme. He opened the folder and showed her the papers, including the wire transfers, the phony contract. They intended to embezzle 80% of my assets. As Anna looked over the documents, David noticed her eyes enlarge. She gazed up at him as she read. This is worse than I imagined. But David leaned closer. But I thought, what are you going to do? Expose them publicly on Monday. You still have the original pictures and the recordings. Therefore, I need your assistance. Require your proof to finish the case. Anna paused, considering it. And then once Leandro and Sophia are... David hesitated before saying, I'd like you to return to the company, not as a cleaner, but as vice president of operations. Anna almost choked on her hot chocolate. Vice president, you possess the expertise, the experience, and the integrity. The business needs leaders like you. This is Anna, David. David cut her off, saying, it's insane. You're not just anything. You're brilliant, brave, and truthful. I need those traits by my side. They sat in silence for a few minutes, the burden of They start talking. Can I give it some thought? Finally, Anna said, Of course, but Anna, David, I'd like to have you in my life in some way, regardless of what you decide about the job, Anna said, reaching across the table, his hand nearly touching hers. David, we come from totally different worlds. I looked at his palm and then at his eyes. No, he shook his head. We're just two people who believe in doing the right thing, even when it's difficult. I used to think that, but I don't anymore. Night had fallen when they left the cafe, and the Chicago lights glistened all about them, creating a nearly enchanted atmosphere. Neither of them was eager to finish the evening as they strolled slowly toward the metro station. David, Anna remarked as, Thank you for today, for listening, for being different than I am, they said, as they arrived at the station's door. I appreciate you giving me another chance, and I believed you were. I'm aware that I didn't deserve it. They stood beneath the Anna looked stunning, her cheeks flushed from the cold, her eyes gleaming beneath the street lights as they looked at one another. The stars. David moved in closer. Yes, may I kiss you? Said Anna. David kissed her tenderly at first, then more boldly when she nodded, after he hesitated for a moment. Replied. It was a tender kiss, full of vows and fresh starts when they were both grinning as they were separated. This just made things more complicated, Anna remarked, although her smile, the best things in life usually do, David said, demonstrating her lack of concern. She added, I'll call you tomorrow to go over the plan for Monday, and laughed as she made her way to the subway door. Before she vanished down the steps, she confirmed, and to talk about us. For the first time in weeks, David spent several minutes staring up at the stars over Chicago while standing on the pavement. Felt that everything would work out. He would confront Leandro and Sofia on Monday. But this time, he wouldn't be by himself. But having Anna at his side made all the difference. After spending the whole Sunday with Anna, David arrived at the office on Monday morning, prepared to execute his plan. Preparing every aspect of their plan to reveal Leandro and Sofia. They had planned a David kept the incriminating evidence for the board meeting at 2:00, when they would present all the evidence of the betrayal. He was anxious, yet self-assured, as he made copies of the documents in his personal safe to distribute during the meeting. At 10, Leandro entered his office without knocking. Anna would come at noon to discuss the last details. David, we need to talk. He spoke in a cold, menacing tone that David had never heard before. Sure, David said, attempting to maintain composure. About what? Leandro closed the door behind him and stepped closer to David's desk. About David's blood froze. Your little late-night investigation on Friday. I don't, David. Don't lie to me. You know what you're talking about. Leandro took a seat across from the desk and crossed. Do you think I'm foolish? That I wouldn't notice someone gaining access to private data in his arrogant legs? The middle of the night? David seemed to be calm, but he was terrified on the inside. "I have the right to access," Leandro said, "any file in my own company." "Oh yes, your company." Leandro took his phone from his pocket and said, "Laugh. For now. What's that supposed to mean?" "Pocket and put it on the table. I know you spoke to the cleaning ladies, so I know exactly what you found. I am aware that you intend to expose me this afternoon." David abruptly sprang to his feet. Leandro interrupted, "Do you know how?" "David, you're even more. You think I don't have people keeping me informed about your every move?" Naiver than I thought. The office door opened once again, and Sophia entered. She appeared flawless, as always, but her eyes were nasty and icy, that David had never seen before. "Hello, David," she said, walking over to give Leandra a cheek kiss. "I missed you over the weekend." David stared at Sophia, perplexed. "Why are you here?" She perched on Leandro's chair's armrest and ran her fingers through his hair, watching you submit, possessively. "Give up?" Leandro grinned and opened his phone. "David, you're intending to call off that absurd board meeting, destroying all of the evidence you've collected. And will you sign the contract with Sterling Corporation today? After what I learned about you, are you crazy?" Leandro turned the phone to David and asked, "No, two?" "After what I found out." David had images of himself walking into Anna's Pilsen building and speaking with her at the cafe, kissing her on the street. "What's the point?" David scowled. Sophia moved forward and said, "Oh, isn't that wrong? David, you used inside corporate information to find a previous worker, and then you paid for her sisters. David experienced a change in the ground underneath him during surgery." "How did you find out about?" Leandro chuckled. "The anonymous $200,000 donation." "David, did you really think you could transfer that amount of money without my knowledge?" "That demonstrates power abuse, not criminal activity." Sophia took a folder out of her purse, "which demonstrates that you had a romantic relationship with a worker who had access to sensitive information. It demonstrates that you paid a substantial sum of money to sway a witness." David seized the documents and went through them. They contained falsified emails, contracts, bank data, and more, created to give the impression that he had benefited Anna by using the business in return for favors. "Of course it." Leandro stood up and asked, "But who's going to believe you?" A CEO who received Safia remarked, "You can't do this. We can, and we will. You were involved with the cleaning lady and used company money to impress her." "Unless you cooperate," he said, moving closer to David. David glanced at Safia and Leandro, two women he had once loved and fully trusted. But suddenly he realized that he had never known them well. "What do?" Leandro sat down again and continued. "You want?" "I just told you. Cancel the meeting. Destroy the proof." Sign the Leandro touched his phone once more and showed David another contract if I didn't. Picture. After an appointment, Anna and Maria were leaving the hospital, and Miss Santos and her ailing sister would find out. David experienced intense anger as he realized what happened to people who shove their noses where they don't belong. Don't you dare threaten them, David. It's a promise, not a threat. Putting his phone away, Leandro remarked, I have contacts all over Chicago. Ana Santos and I are unable to find employment any place. And her little sister. Well, mishaps do occur, particularly when individuals are ill. Leandro retied his tie and remarked, You're a monster. I'm a businessman, and you, my old friend, are a problem that must be handled. David glanced at Sophia, trying to find any sign of the lady he had been in love with for years ago. Do you truly support this? Safia, you're threatening innocent people. David, you were always so romantic, so idealistic. Do you really think I broke up with you because we weren't compatible? She asked, taking a step toward him. Her comments were like a slap. You were poor, but not exactly poor. I broke up with you because you were poor, for starting a little business and having modest dreams. Leandro gave me the opportunity to become genuinely rich. David gazed at her. You never loved me, I said, startled. I admired your aspirations. Sophia stated, I loved the potential of what you could become. Fake sensitivity was applied to his face. However, when I observed that Leandra was prepared to go to any lengths to achieve success while you held fast to your moral convictions, well, the decision was clear. Moral standards. David withdrew her hand. You express that as if it were a negative thing. It is in the business world, Leandro remarked, taking a step forward. You created a 500 million business while keeping your values and ethics in check. Simply, just think of what you may have accomplished if you had been a bit more adaptable. I don't want to succeed something along those lines. Sophia continued, and that's why you lose everything. Be beside Leandro, because people like us always win out in the end, not those like you. David examined the two of them, holding hands and grinning cruelly. Leandro and I have been friends for 15 years and have been dating for 2 years with Sophia. It was all founded on falsehoods. Leandro remarked, You have an hour to make a decision. Examining his pricey watch. Noon will destroy you and everything you care about until you sign the deal. About. If I cooperate, will you leave her alone? David begged Ana. Ana Santos and her sister can continue leading their modest, unimportant lives if you comply and keep quiet. Leandro said, in peace, and opened the door. But if you attempt to deceive us once more, the threat was obvious, even though he did not finish the phrase. David leaned back in his chair after they had gone. He peered out the window at Chicago, where he had spent the majority of his adult life. It was strange and frigid now. His mobile, it rang. Anna was the one. I'm getting to the building, David. Is everything set up for the meeting? David shut his eyes. If he would be endangering Maria and Anna if he told her the truth. But are you there, David, if he lied? He said, I'm here. He spoke in a harsh voice. About the meeting, Anna. Indeed. David examined the folder with his desk's proof. Then he examined the falsified paperwork Safia had left behind. There are two versions of reality. One that would rescue his business, and the other that might shield the woman he was starting to fall in love with. I must cancel it. Cancel? Why? Legal issues. We require more time. Silence prevailed on the opposite end. Are you all right, David? You have an odd voice. I'm all right, he lied, detesting himself for it. Just an adjustment of schedule. Okay, let's chat later. Naturally. David. He hung up the phone and buried his face in his hands. He felt totally defeated for the first time in his adult life. He had no idea how to combat those who were willing to threaten the defenseless. And Leandro and Sofia had triumphed. Anna was standing on the pavement outside the Miller Technologies building, staring up at the sky with an odd sensing that there was a serious problem. David was inside the office, gazing at the Sterling Corporation contract. He would sign everything away in a few hours, but at least Anna and Maria would be secure. Alternatively, that's what he hoped. Anna was aware of a problem. The abrupt cancellation, when they finally met in the lobby, David avoided making eye contact and spoke in an odd tone. After 15, she'd been working with people for years, so she knew how to interpret signs. Anna made the decision to look into it herself that evening. She was familiar with all of the Miller Technologies building's entrances and exits from her time as a cleaning crew member. 9:00 p.m., when the night security personnel were the only ones on duty. She applied her understanding of the infrequently updated access codes to go through the basement. She went to the executive floor via the service stairs. Her objective was straightforward: to learn why David had abruptly altered his mind. She found what she was seeking for in Leandro's office. Unlocked drawers, papers all over the desk, and indications that someone was rushing. With her, Anna snapped photos of everything. Phone, false emails, falsified bank records, and contracts signed by David. However, what made printed pictures of her and Maria leaving the hospital with handwritten remarks in the margins made her blood run cold. Pressure point and secondary target. Anna got it right away. Leandro had learned she and Maria were being used as leverage in David's inquiry. She hurried to find recording equipment. She discovered a little digital recorder in a pen holder on Leandro's desk, most likely used to record damning discussions. Anna listened to the audio recordings. Numerous recordings were found, including exchanges between Leandro and Sofia, organizing the treachery. Her heart raced, though, after seeing the most recent one earlier that afternoon. It was the video of Leandro using her and Maria as a kind of blackmail and threatening David. Just as silently as she had entered the building, Anna copied all the files to her phone and walked out. At 6 in the morning, Anna rang the doorbell at David's Lincoln Park condominium on Tuesday. Wearing a bathrobe, he responded as if he had not slept. "Why are you here so early, Anna? I must speak with you, it's critical." David certainly let her in. "Anxious? About yesterday, Anna? You don't comprehend some of the complications. I comprehend exactly." Anna reached inside her purse and took out her phone. "I am aware that I am the reason Leandro is blackmailing you." David looked at her in disbelief. "How did you?" "I listened to the tape." When Anna hit play, Leandro's menacing voice reverberated throughout the flat. David plopped down heavily on the couch after the recording was over. "You don't get it, Anna. The risk." He made threats against both Maria and you. "That's not a risk I can take." "David." Anna took a seat. Next to him, Leandro committed a deadly error. He made a note of his own threats. David raised his head with a glimmer of optimism within his eyes. "By what do you mean?" "I have evidence for everything. The tapes, the surveillance photographs, the fake documents." He saw Anna's phone. "We've got enough to defeat them. Entirely. However, what about the dangers? They are incapable of harming us if we reveal them. They are incarcerated." Anna grasped David's hands. "Believe me, we must take action today, before they discover that we have exposed their plot." David stared at her for a long time. The bravery in her eyes, the resolve in her tone. "What would you recommend? Postpone the board meeting?" "For today. 2:00." While thinking, Anna stood and paced the room. "But this time, for them, we'll be prepared." The Miller Technologies auditorium was packed at 2 in the afternoon. Every member of the board were in attendance, along with a number of business executives and representatives from Sterling Corporation. David took the stage, clearly anxious. Sophia and Leandro were sitting in the front row, grinning confidently. "Women and gentlemen," David said, "I've convened this meeting to announce some significant developments regarding Miller's future." "Technologies?" Leandro nodded encouragingly, obviously anticipating David's announcement of the merger. "Firstly, I'd like to present Ana Santos, our new VP of Operations." A cascade of A's. Anna took the stage. A sense of surprise filled the auditorium. She was well known to many as the former housekeeper who was dismissed for spying. Leandro got to his feet suddenly. "David, this is ridiculous. You can't." David firmly interrupted, saying, "Please sit down, Mr. Vega." Anna stood up and said, "You'll have your chance to speak soon." To the microphone. "Good afternoon. I'm sure a lot of you recall the sad events of my previous look in this auditorium." She spoke in a crisp, calm voice. "I'm here today to expose the reality behind those happenings." The first image showed on the screen after Anna switched on a projector. the fraudulent merger of Sterling Corporation agreement. Mr. Miller was presented this form of the merger agreement. Anna gestured toward the numbers on the display. This paper states that David Miller would keep 65% of the business following the merger. She moved on to the following slide. Additionally, this is the actual contract, the one they planned to sign. David Miller would only keep 15% of this. Command. Murmurs broke out in the room. Leandro was pale now. "This is absurd," Sophia said. "These photos are not real." "Are they?" She received a cold from Anna. Grin. "Then perhaps this is what you would prefer to hear." She hit the sound system's play button, the echo of Leandro's voice clearly across the auditorium. "David is utterly innocent. After 15 years of companionship, he was blind to any potential for treachery. We'll have complete control over the assets by the time he understands what has happened, and we'll be out of the nation." There was utter silence in the room. Everyone looked at Leandro, who was obviously in a panic. He sputtered. "That was taken out of context." "Was it?" Anna proceeded to the subsequent taping, and the voice of this Safia filled the auditorium. "It's ambition, not hatred. Although he was always constrained, David was a good boyfriend. Too little for my dreams. I can have all I've ever desired with you." Safia struggled to maintain her composure despite her anger. "These recordings are prohibited. They were acquired without permission." In fact, Anna looked in her direction. They came from a recording device that was discovered in Mr. Vega's workspace and that he used to capture his own discussions. David approached the microphone once more. "There's more." He gave Anna a nod, the bank records were projected onto the screen. Miller Technologies accounts received a transfer of $23 million to Mr. Anna, noted Vega's personal accounts. Funds that were intended to be utilized for proper merger planning. Desperate, Leandro got to his feet. "We've been buddies for 15 years, David. Are you really going to believe this? This courageous woman put everything on the line to protect me from treachery." David stopped. "She never lied to me, unlike you, so yes, Leandro, I will believe her." Mr. Roberto, principal a Sterling Corporation representative, got to his feet. "Mr. Miller." Sterling Corporation was unaware of these anomalies. "We are a genuine business that was duped by dishonest agents." We fully David nodded, understanding. "Actually, we'd want to talk about a legal merger with you later on." To be honest, Leandro surveyed the auditorium, observing only disgusted and disapproving expressions. Finally, his facade as a reputable executive had completely dropped. "You know what?" he asked, laughing bitterly. "I have no regrets, David. You're always too frail to what was necessary. You deserve to lose everything. You deserve what's—" A fresh voice echoed across the hall, "coming to you." Everyone turned to see Leandro Vega and Sofia Delgado, two other Chicago police detectives, enter with Detective Johnson. You are arrested for attempted extortion, document falsification, and corporate fraud. As Leandro and Sofia were instantly, the auditorium erupted in cheers. Anna grinned at David, who gave her a grateful smile in return. And something more. How did you find out to come here? Miss Santos contacted us. David questioned the investigator. The evidence this morning, the detective smiled in response. Cases like this with such obvious proof are a prosecutor's dream. This isn't over, Leandro said at David as he and Sofia were led away. I possess attorneys. I've got contacts. You did? David calmly retorted, now all you have is a jail cell. David and Anna were left alone on stage as the theater eventually emptied. So Anna stated with a, "How was my first day as vice president?" I smiled. David drew her into his arms and said, "Unforgettable. Anna, you saved me in every manner imaginable. Together," she added, softly caressing his face. We saved each other. On the platform where his life had almost been ripped apart just hours before, he kissed her. Now, with Anna in his arms, it seemed as though he was at last creating something tangible. And now? Anna asked when their kiss ended. Now, David laughed. We have a company to rebuild and a life to build together. The sound of police sirens outside the building vanished into the distance, and with it, 15 years of false friendship and 2 years of false love. But something genuine and lovely was only getting started inside the building. Weeks after the altercation, Anna was in her new office, a large room completing her examination of the financial reports. Room overlooking Lake Michigan on the same executive floor as David's. As vice president of Miller Technologies, she had already made adjustments that were yielding remarkable results when she was roused from her, without raising her eyes from the papers, she said, "Come in. Madam Vice President, do you have a minute for your Chief Executive Officer?" "I always have time for my boss," she said, grinning at David's light-hearted tone. When Anna eventually looked up, David was holding a bouquet of red flowers, and I was taken aback. Was this an apology? I know you've been working non-stop for the past 2 weeks, and I haven't demonstrated enough how, David, you don't have to. I do. Anna got to her feet, moved by the gesture. Thank you so much for everything you've done. Anna, you didn't just save my firm. You saved my life. You made me see the man You were already a nice man. You simply needed to learn to trust your gut. You really wanted to be. David grinned. I looked at the time and saw that it was 5:30. Shall we leave? I have a surprise for you. David silently drove through Chicago's streets while grinning mysteriously. In his face, Anna made multiple attempts to figure out where they were headed. But all he said was that it was unexpected. Eventually, the October sun was sinking over Lake Michigan when they came to a halt at North Avenue Beach, illuminating the sky with shades of pink and orange. Why are we here? As they continued walking, Anna inquired, "The beach? Do you recall our first meaningful conversation?" David paused and faced her. "In the break room. When you presented the proof to me, I answered, 'Of course.' If I was lying, it would be my final day of employment. You also stated that you would never forgive me if I lost everything, and you remained silent." David clasped her hands and said, "Anna, you showed me what true courage looks like that night." Anna felt her heart race. David's voice had a certain intensity that she had never heard before. "David, please allow me to finish," he replied, inhaling deeply. "All my life, I thought I knew what success meant. Money, power, recognition. But as I came dangerously close to losing everything, I understood that without the right person by your side, none of that counts." To Anna's amazement, David dropped her hands and crouched down in front of her in the sand. "Ana Santos," his voice was sensitive yet calm, "you entered my life as a courageous housekeeper and ended up becoming my best friend, partner, and savior." With tears in her eyes, Anna raised her palms to her mouth and said, "You taught me, friend, and the love of my life, that a person's character, not their occupation, is what truly makes them valuable." David produced a tiny velvet box. "You showed me that sometimes the most significant individuals in our lives are those who possess the bravery to tell us the harsh realities." When he opened the box, a plain yet exquisite ring with a single, "I can't image a diamond gleaming in the golden light of the setting sun, Anna. Constructing a future without you. Will you marry me?" Anna glanced at the man with tears running down her cheeks, knees before her. The same guy who had previously opted for a phony friendship rather than standing up for her, but who had developed and become one who is genuinely deserving of her affection. "David?" Her voice faltered. "Of course, certainly." David got up fast and put the ring on her finger, and it was the perfect fit. "How did you know my size?" Anna inquired while examining the ring. "I asked Maria for assistance," and David grinned. "In reality, I sought for her approval before telling you are the most significant individual in her life, and I had to make a commitment to look for you both." "You? What did you promise?" "That I would spend my entire life trying to make you happy." David gave her a tender kiss and assured her that our family will always come first. Feeling as though her heart could explode with joy, she kissed him back while the waves of Lake Michigan could be heard in the distance. "I love you, David Miller," she said, as she softly rolled onto the shore and the first stars appeared in the Chicago sky. 3 months later, in the fall, she muttered, "And I love you, future Mrs. Anna Miller." Anna stood before the mirror in Millennium Park, where the trees had been painted in shades of red and gold by Chicago. In her new apartment, where she and David had moved in together the previous month, the modest yet tasteful wedding. "You look absolutely radiant," Maria exclaimed as she walked in the door, wearing the clothing she had selected. Her heart surgery had been a huge success, and she appeared healthier and more energetic than before. "I'm nervous," Anna said. "It's weird. I felt certain when David asked me to marry him. However, today is the day you discover you're getting married to the man you love and joining a lovely family." As she straightened her sister's veil, Maria spoke. "You deserve all of this, Anna." Joy. Maria's most recent test results were brought in by Dr. Rodriguez. Excellent outlook and perfect heart function. The sisters embraced while sobbing with happiness and relief. After an hour, Anna strolled along the Lincoln Park Conservatory's glass aisle. The environment was enchanted by the tropical vegetation, and roughly 50. In the midst of flowers and palm trees, visitors waited. David was beaming with joy as he stood at the altar. As soon as he noticed his smile, which always made her heart race, brightened Anna's face, he whispered, "You look stunning," as she got to him. "And you look perfect," Anna replied in a whisper. Williams, Reverend, started the ceremony by discussing courage, love, and second chances. David was the first to speak when the vows were timed. "I didn't want to hear the truth you whispered when you entered my life, Anna. I learned from you that true strength originates from honesty, and that mutual respect and trust are the foundation of true love. I swear to be deserving of your bravery each and every day of our existence." Anna dabbed at a tear before talking. "You've demonstrated to me, David, that some guys do keep their word, and that some people do change. I swear to be there for you as your companion through happiness and adversity." The conservatory erupted in cheers as they exchanged rings and shared their first kiss as husband and wife. During the reception, Don Roberto toasted the company's accomplishments. Since Anna took over as vice president 3 months ago, Miller Technologies has achieved significant partnerships and grew by 30%. "So what comes next for the future?" Martha from HR inquired. Anna glanced at Maria, then at David, who was dancing joyfully. "Well," Anna remarked, grinning enigmatically. "Actually, we haven't revealed one surprise yet. With anyone as of yet." David gave her a questioning glance. Anna stated, "David, I'm pregnant," softly caressing her abdomen. 6 weeks. An explosion broke the silence of happiness. As everyone screamed and applauded, David took her into his arms and twirled her around. Afterwards, on the roof of David and Anna stood clutching each other as they gazed out at the lights of the hotel where they would spend their honeymoon. Chicago is below. From CEO and janitor to a couple expecting a child, Anna, what an unbelievable journey. "The best part," David remarked, planting a kiss on the top of her head, "is that our narrative is just starting," David said, turning Anna in his arms. "Yes, I appreciate you becoming the I appreciate you never giving up on me. You are the man I always knew you could be." What did you think of Anna and David's story? Leave a comment below. Kissed Under the Stars in Chicago. How would you rank this story on a scale of 0 to 10? Remember to subscribe and to stay up to date on all of our stories. Enable alerts. You can also view additional motivational stories by following this link. At the conclusion,